Hi, my name's Maria Bullard, and this is an instructional video on morphology, specifically on morphemes. Now, doesn't that sound exciting? Yes, that's what I thought as well. So I've decided to present this lesson as an allegory titled Morph Your Act. It has two characters and a narrator, and because this is a really low-budget production, I will be playing all three parts. Now, before we go on with the allegory, I think I should mention something about morphemes just so we know what we are talking about. Morphemes shouldn't be confused with syllables, words, or single letters, although they can be any of these. What sets morphemes apart is that they are the smallest unit of language or sound cluster that has its own meaning and cannot be broken down any further. In other words, morphemes are the building blocks of language. Now, back to our allegory, Morph Your Act. The name of the main character is, unsurprisingly, Act, A-C-T, who is a morpheme. In the opening scene, he plays the role of a verb. Given that he is a verb, he is always busy, 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 always being made to do something. So when he walks onto the stage, he is totally exhausted. I just can't take this constant doing anymore. But I'm a verb, so I don't have any choice, do I? But I know who can help me. I'll ask my wise old advisor. She knows everything. So Act goes to see his wise old advisor and tells her he absolutely needs some rest. Well, you can do that by not being a verb anymore and becoming a noun. Really? And how do I do that? In your case, it's simple because you are one of those lucky single morpheme words that can decide to be either a verb or a noun without really doing anything else. Just say, I'm a noun. But how will people be able to tell whether I'm playing the role of a noun or a verb? There's a big difference, isn't there? There certainly is a difference, but the part you play can be easily understood by where you stand on the sentence stage. So, for example, if I say, the last act was spectacular, there is no doubt you are a noun. But if I say, the main character doesn't know how to act, it is clear that you are a verb. You see, on the English language stage, nouns always go before verbs, so it's easy for the audience to tell who is which. So Act becomes a noun, and for a while he's really very happy. But then he gets terribly bored doing nothing but sitting around all day. So he decides to go back to see his wise old advisor. This being a noun is really boring. I don't know, what can I do? Well, you need at least a companion verb to make something happen, because on your own, all you can do is sit there. You did say you wanted some rest. Oh, well then, I don't want to be a noun anymore. I want to be something else. But you can't be anything else on your own, because the English language audience won't allow you to scramble yourself around. Otherwise, you, Act, might end up being a cat. But if you really want to shake things up, we can go down to the Morpheme outlet and find you a compatible morpheme that will change your life. The Morpheme outlet? What's that? Like Match.com for morphemes? Yes, well, something like that. See, you are one of the free morphemes, also known as free roots, that can exist on their own. But all the others are called bound morphemes because they need to be attached to a root like you, which is why they are known as affixes. They can be fixed or attached in front of you, in which case they are called prefixes, like pre, re, con, and un, or they can be attached after you, in which case they are called suffixes, like able, less, full, ion, and eyes. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. First of all, you have to choose between two different categories of morphemes. Let's look at the category called inflectional morphemes. These are very important because there are only 8 of them in the whole English language store. In addition, they are very picky. 4 of them, S, ed, ing, and en, are interested only in verbs. 2 of them, S and apostrophe S, are interested only in nouns. And you're not interested in the other 2, ER and EST, because they hang out only with adjectives. What's more, you have to be careful because the 2 S morphemes look exactly alike, but they have completely different traits. Heck, that sounds complicated. Relationships are always complicated, but don't be discouraged. Now, if you want to go back to being a verb, I would avoid the inflectional morpheme ing that changes you to acting, because that's the progressive tense, meaning you are always in the process of doing something, so you would never get any rest. Maybe you could go with ed past tense morpheme and become acted, but then you wouldn't be here anymore because you would be in the past. Oh, that doesn't sound good. What if I remain a noun? In that case, you could add the inflectional morpheme s and immediately become 2 or more of yourself. Your collective name would be Acts, A-C-T-S. Oh no, I don't want any identical twins. Okay then, well let's forget about fixing you up with an inflectional morpheme and try one of the morphemes from the other category, the one called derivational morphemes. Now remember, if you add a derivational morpheme to yourself, the part you play on the speech stage will change. That is, you will no longer be a verb. But the good news is that derivational morphemes don't insist on having an exclusive relationship with you. In fact, they don't mind having lots of company. So you can hook up with as many derivational morphemes at the same time as you like, just as long as the audience still understands you, of course. Just keep in mind that your part in the speech play will change every time you add another derivational morpheme. Often this will mean you have to move to a different position because there are pretty strict rules regarding the order of players on the English language sentence stage. My goodness, that means I'll have to learn the position of all the grammar parts because if all the word players are not in the right order, the sentence might end up meaning something completely different to what I intended. You're correct, but what you're talking about is called syntax, which of course is very important. But this is an allegory about morphemes, so let's stick to the subject. First of all, if you weren't already a noun as well as a verb, you could add the derivational morpheme ion and become the noun called action. Although act and action are considered synonyms because in many ways you are the same, the two have some rather different connotations. For example, if you're part of a play about a battle, then your name would be Action. But if you were in a play about entertainment, it would most likely be Act. But how do people know which name to use? What are the rules for this? There are really no rules regarding connotations. I'm afraid you simply have to learn them as you go. Oh, I see. You were going to show me how to play all these different roles, weren't you? Why, yes, of course. I'll give you some examples so you can learn how the language building process works. Then you'll be able to do it all on your own. I will? Really? Yes, that's because the role of the bound morphemes is always the same. So no matter which word the bound morphemes are attached to, they always change the root in the same way. For example, the inflectional S plural morpheme always changes its companion noun from singular to plural. Or the derivational morpheme ly always changes the word to an adverb. What if I want to become an adjective? Then what do I do? You would add the derivational morpheme ive, and there you have it, active. So then if I add the derivational morpheme ly to active, it becomes an adverb, actively. Yes, that's correct. Not only, but if you were to add the derivational morpheme ate to the adjective, you would change it back into a verb, activate. And if I add the derivational morpheme ion to activate, it would become a noun, activation. I can also add the derivational prefix de and change activate to its antonym, deactivate. Wow, this is really easy. Yes, that's right. See how many words you are adding to your lexicon? And, most important of all, you are learning to build language on your own. You're doing a great job. Well, that's the end of the allegory. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope it's been helpful for you. Please feel free to use it in your classrooms. Thank you, and goodbye.